Welcome back to You Talk Sports, where we cover the NBA, NFL, and March Madness. And if tonight's games are any indication, this is going to be an amazing March Madness and an amazing week. And I'm particularly looking forward to tonight's game of the night in the NBA between the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota T-Wolves. This is my prediction as what's going to be the Western Conference Finals. So we get to preview that tonight. We'll be checking in on all the action around the league as well as March Madness. And we'll be bringing you highlights. We'll be bringing you game audio. We'll be bringing you fan takes and all the stats. So if you miss the action and are looking to see what happened last night, that's exactly the place that you want to be, is watching us on the replay. And if you're here live, we'd love to have you come join us here live in the show on YouTube right now, in Zoom rather. So if you're watching us on YouTube and you'd like to come join us up in Zoom, just go ahead and comment saying Zoom in the chat, and we will drop you the link to come on in and join us live here on Zoom. You Talk Sports is a new show where you get to be in the show. So if you have ever been watching a show, maybe Colin or Pat McAfee, and you're like, hey, man, I would love to be in the show. That's exactly what we do here. So welcome, Jeremiah, and also Ryan. Good to see you guys here. I'm excited for a fun night of basketball tonight. We'll also be talking a little bit of fantasy football, and we're going to be covering this game that is getting ready to tip off right now between the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota T-Wolves. I have a lot in this game that I'm going to have my eye on, but I would love to hear from you guys. Jeremiah, what do you expect to see happen in this NBA game tonight?
Oh, I expect to see a great game. I'm picking the Nuggets and the over. I'm excited to see Ant-Man play, though. Haven't had many chances to see him play this year. This guy's highlights are amazing. Can't wait to see him play an entire game. But that Nuggets team's real good, and I think they're going to take it serious like a playoff game and expect them to come out with the dub.
Yeah, a lot of hype building about the Ant-Man. You know, we talked last week on the show after the NBA All-Star game about, hey, who might be in line to take over the face of the NBA when LeBron walks away? And the Ant-Man's name came up to surprise to a lot of people who maybe haven't seen him because he's in a small market town. Jeremiah, if you were to think back, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who does the Ant-Man's game most remind you of, kind of thinking back over the history of NBA players?
Maybe a Vince Carter. I think he'll end up being better than Vince Carter. Maybe not the longevity, but Vince Carter, maybe a tad better than a guy like Vince Carter.
Yeah, interesting that you say that, because a lot of people are telling us that that's the similarities that they see in him. You know, and Vince Carter, he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Jordan, right? He went to North Carolina. He came in, dunking, scoring, winning games, led his team to the Eastern Conference Finals early in his career. And then it all kind of fell apart, injuries and
he still has the best in-game dunk I've ever seen, and that Olympic dunk over the 7-foot dude in France, that was absurd.
Well, Ant-Man's dunk last night might be put that up there. So awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see Ant-Man tonight. Let's hear next from Ryan. Ryan, what do you expect to see in this game tonight?
Yeah, it's a good one, guys. I mean, listen, this is the first time we're going to see these two teams meet now this time into the season, right? It's the first meeting. They still have 3 more times they're going head to head. It's the top 2 teams. It's the top 2 teams. And you mentioned Ant-Man, you mentioned Anthony Edwards. I love the kid. I mean, if you love basketball, how can you not love Anthony Edwards? I think that's like, saying I like milkshakes, right? But here's the thing, guys. We're so obsessed in today's culture with anointing the next Michael Jordan. It bothers me. It bothers me. Like, I like this kid. Now you're making me not like him because you want to call him MJ. All right. I mean, put some respect on the GOAT's name here, guys. I mean, I love Ant Edwards, and man, it's impressive what Minnesota's been able to do this season, but I'm not a believer in them. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Right. Jokic just continues to wake up, roll out of bed. I think he plays in sweatpants. We just don't see him. right? Like he doesn't give a damn, and he drops 28, 10, and 10 like it's nothing. Denver is still the cream of the crop. I think we're going to get a full showing of that tonight. And to be fair with Minnesota, right, they are banged up. You have Rudy Gobert that's dealing with bruised ribs. You have Edwards, who we've already talked a lot about, dealing with that dislocated finger after that epic dunk. Cat, I believe, is out for the game as well. So, I mean, they're playing the JV squad on top of a back-to-back, and Denver has a lot to prove.
Yeah. Yeah. Some great takes there and points from Ryan. And, about, kind of giving the Ant-Man the next Michael Jordan label already. He's only 22 years old. I'm really impressed with what he's done this year. I'll be honest, like, his rookie year, halfway through that year, I was like, man, Melo, it looks like he should have been LaMelo Ball should have been the number one pick overall. Ant-Man wasn't even in the top 100 for fantasy his whole entire rookie year. But every year he's taken major strides. And now with Karl Anthony Towns out, he's going to be out until the playoffs, it looks like. It's really been the Ant-Man's time to step up and shine. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do tonight against KCP, who is the stopper for Denver. We're going to look under the hood and see what the injuries are, who's playing. And what I would love to have everyone do is go over to YouTube, and in the YouTube chat, tell us who you're picking tonight. If you're taking Denver in the over, I think we heard Jeremiah take. Put your pick so we have it on record in the YouTube chat for this game that we're going to be centered on tonight. And while this will be our centerpiece tonight, as we always do, we'll be looking all around the league at March Madness. At halftime, we're going to get into March Madness takes. We're going to talk some fantasy football, and we'll be covering everything that's happening in the NBA, but we'll be centered around this game. And if you're watching us on YouTube and would like to join us here on Zoom, I'm going to drop the Zoom link in here again. Let me just hop over to the YouTube chat here and copy and paste the Zoom link here. Here is the Zoom link to join us. And let's hear next from Will. Good to see you hopping up in here. What do you expect to see happen in tonight's game between Denver and Minnesota, Will?
I'm disappointed. No Gobert and no Towns. So I was excited to see if Gobert could actually guard Jokic, because he's one of the best defenders, I think. So Nuggets are going to tear him apart.
Yeah, without their best team in there, it is a disappointing showing. And as I look at this line, I'm surprised it hasn't moved up higher than that. Naz Reid, who's been on fire for Denver, is also out. And so really they're just who's playing. It's going to be the Ant-Man having to carry this team single-handedly. Just when I see these types of scenarios, and this is what's great about watching these games, we're really in tune with what's happening in the league. And I take the Ant-Man's over, his points to go over here, because there's nobody else that's there. So he's going to light it up. Shooting the ball would be my prediction, and Denver to win. That would be my little parlay for tonight. I'm going to go over to the YouTube chat and just put that in there. So if we could get Ryan and Alvin, we'll hear from next. Also Jeremiah and Will, good to see you guys. David is joining us. Just come on over here and put it into the YouTube chat. I am taking, I said Denver and the Ant-Man over his 30 points as my picks for tonight. Being totally transparent in building this channel, it's really important that we keep the engagement going in the YouTube chat. That's what pushes this show out to more people in the algorithm. And so be chiming in there whenever you can, be multitasking, keep an eye over there. We'll be popping in over there. Some people like to watch us and watch the stats. They don't feel like being on camera. Maybe they're not camera ready today, but they're enjoying the game. Most of the time they're like us. They're watching the game at home. If you see me looking to the left, I've got the game on here, and we're just kind of here having fun. The vibe we're going for is like we're in the living room with each other and just kind of hanging out, watching the game. Let's hear next from Alvin. Alvin, what do you expect to see happen tonight in this Denver-Minnesota game?
I expect to have Minnesota still give a fight. I'm looking to see what Ant-Man is going to try to do. Is he going to shoulder the load? Is he going to give us some highlights for tonight's game that we haven't seen before? I'm looking for him to be very aggressive tonight. I'm looking for Kyle Anderson to have to step up tonight as well, getting more shots in tonight's game since the two big two are out of the game tonight. So I'm definitely looking for Minnesota to give the Nuggets a fight. I know what to expect from the Nuggets. I want to see what Anthony Edwards can do tonight.
Yeah, good call on Kyle Anderson as we look at the who's starting for the T-Wolves tonight. They're just are tipped off right now, by the way. We've got Anderson and Conley, and then looks like Alexander and McDaniels filling in. We are underway, but let's get our last pregame take in from David, and then make sure everyone put your picks into the chat. David, what do you expect to see happen tonight in this game?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's somebody. I think it was Ryan talking about it. How the Joker just gets out of bed, sweatpants on, just rises to the occasion. We watched them a couple weeks back, just handle business against the Celtics. So a depleted T-Wolves team. I think Denver's actually made it. I think they're just a half game back from the Thunder now. So I expect Denver to take care of business. I didn't see what the spread is, but if it's 6 or less, I would take the Nuggets.
Yeah, it was at 2.5 still. So I think that is a steal. I think we're all jumping on that with these injuries. Naz Reid especially. Oh, go ahead, Will.
I think the biggest surprise is Mike Conley's number 24 at assists. He's averaging 6 assists a game. I thought the dude retired. He's 36 years old. He's
Conley's definitely getting a second wind with Minnesota here. It looked like he had kind of might be winding down his career, but he's fitting in great. Let's listen in for the game as we're underway here, and we'll be bringing up actual game highlights. So if you're watching this on the replay, this is we're going to be showing you the best clips from the game, any controversial calls from the game, any highlight dunks, which we're expecting from the Ant-Man, and we'll be listening in on the audio here as well.
Once for game against Denver last year. Had a 19-point game, a 16-point game. Like, he did some real work. Here's Edwards. Picks up in trouble. McDaniels will pull up over. Gordon is good. And a teardrop jumper working for McDaniels early. Well, Nathan's been wildly consistent as Jokic on a right box post up misses the baseline jumper.
Nice up and under there by Edwards already.
But defensively, he needs to be excellent. Offensively, he needs to be efficient. Oh, Edwards putting the moves on Porter Jr. and laying it in. Such great footwork. It's one of the more underrated things about Anthony Edwards' game. Murray for 3. Part of the history with Anthony Edwards, we saw the step-through move last night in Utah. Anthony Edwards spent some time working with Steve Smith, and you know how good Smitty's footwork is. Yeah, Smitty is an all-timer. Player.
One of the nice things with the audio is a few seconds behind the TV. Sometimes it can be distracting, but it allows me to see what happened and then quickly pull up that clip for us to watch here when there's something that's worth seeing on the TV. Obviously, you can't broadcast the whole game live. That's copyright protection on this.
Is Murray considered like a top guard in your guys' mind? Jamal? What's the vibe on him?
Murray?
Yeah.
Yeah, Murray is key to their success for sure. Should have been an all-star. It's just so many good players these days.
Yeah, he's proven it, right? He's like a Drew Holiday. He's a guy that's he's invaluable, right? He's just someone that he's going to get it done when the lights are their brightest. So I think he still doesn't get enough love, man. He still doesn't get it.
Yeah, it's tough when you got all the other guys. That's kind of why I was wondering too.
But it was important for him. Once again, Jokic, foul
Jokic going to the line now. Yeah, let's talk about Murray. Good topic, Will. I look at this as kind of the early Shaq and Kobe days, when Shaq would really dominate. He was the MVP of the finals, all three of those championships, and Kobe was the closer. And that's kind of what Jokic and Murray have going on here. The last year that Denver lost in the playoffs, Murray was out. And, he's had a few injuries throughout his career, but when he can stay healthy, he's the difference maker. And I saw when they played Boston, my team earlier this year, that when Jokic would go to the bench, Murray would really take over and be aggressive and get a lot of his points in. Ryan, who's your home team, Ryan?
Yeah, you just said Boston, man. I may have to. I don't know. We're gonna have to virtually fight or something. I'm the 76ers. Unfortunately, it's a brutal existence. It's an absolutely brutal existence. We don't have enough time for me to complain and moan about my 76ers. But yeah, I grew up a diehard Philly sports fan, and they've definitely taken years off my life.
Nice. Yeah. I feel like, one thing with Philly is that the players that tend to be in Philly, like fit the city's personality, whether it's Barkley or Iverson or Embiid or T.O. It just seems like it's the same type of character that seems to always wind up in Philly.
Yeah.
I don't know if the city brings that out in them or if it's just by coincidence, or what do you think?
Oh, what 1000%. It gets yanked out of you. And guess what? If you're not, that Philly blueprint, that quote, Philly guy, I don't know how many times in Philly sports talk radio we hear the topic. Is he a Philly guy though? Call in. Is he a Philly guy? If you're not, you're gonna get exposed, i.e. Ben Simmons. That's the easiest example. So you can go from legend to Joker, real quick.
Yeah, and I wonder sometimes if you a guy like Jason Kelsey, who now seems like this wild, beloved man, maybe when he was growing up, he was this mild-mannered Midwestern guy, and being on Philly for so long has just kind of transformed who he is into what he is now. And another thing about Philly is I'm single and I only date women that like sports or love sports really. And every single female I've ever met from Philly is diehard sports fan for all four teams. I've never seen another city where women like rep all four teams. Like even in Boston, where I'm from, that's very unusual. Usually you have one or two. Even myself, I'm mostly Celtics and Patriots. But in Philly, it's like, no, all four, male, female, doesn't matter. You raise them right in Philly, it seems like.
Yeah, we call it the Philly 4-for-4. It's a real thing, Philly 4-for-4. So it's of course, every team has its group, right? Like you'll talk to some fans, like, yeah, I follow all four, but I'm Flyers and Phillies. Another person may be Phillies and Eagles, but everyone's got a close eye on all four. I'm surprised you say that about Boston. I would have guessed Boston's very similar to Philly in that manner. No?
Not all four. Like everyone in Boston is a pro sports fan. There's no college teams. But it's very rare for you to be all four. It's exhausting to cover all four. So, even myself, I only have two, and I find Red Sox fans annoying. And especially with women, it's usually one, maybe two. If I think back, I mean, I know a lot of Boston women. I grew up there, right? They usually had really one team that they latched on to, maybe two. Not to say they wouldn't root for their team if they're in the Super Bowl, but they don't know anything that's going on in those other sports.
Right.
So, all right, our game's at a commercial break here. So, what as far as this is a Western Conference Finals preview, what would you say? Let's hear it from Cam, who's just hopped up here. What has to happen, Cam, for this to be the Western Conference Finals?
Well, I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I'm not certain if the Timberwolves can really make it to the Western Conference Finals. It's going to have to be one of those those next man up mantras, one of those everyone doubted us, right? But we're here kind of teams is how the Timberwolves are going to have to get there because man, losing Cat, that's their premier guy, right?
Well, he is supposed to be back from the playoffs, right? I mean,
Well,
I haven't
Yeah.
checked anything
if he
lately,
can
but
come back, and he looks good too. That's the thing too. When these players come back, the playoffs is a whole different beast, right? These players need to get back in game shape. And I watched it happen to Clay. They threw him and Steph threw him right in the middle of a playoff game without really getting the reps in he should have got. So that's what concerns me about Cat is if he's going to have enough reps in and be in basketball playoff shape. Because like I said, the playoffs is a whole different animal than the regular season. But the Nuggets, I fully expect them to be there. Injuries is the same thing. If injuries, that's their kryptonite. If Jamal Murray goes down, that changes the whole West, I think. But
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, good points. I mean, I heard JJ Redick was on for I think First Take this morning or maybe Get Up, and he was describing it like Stephen A was picking the Knicks to make a run in the East, and Redick said if they get their players back from injury in enough time to get into rhythm. Same thing with Embiid coming back. Like they gotta get into rhythm. You can't just throw them into the playoffs, like Cam is saying here. Does anybody else? Let's use the Zoom raise of hand if you want to chime in on these topics. We're going to hop back over to this game. Will, what do you feel has to happen for Minnesota to make a run to the Western Conference Finals?
I think, I'm not worried about. I think they could handle the Nuggets, but it's going to come down to if the Thunder keep the 1 seed, it's going to be interesting, because they're going to have to play lower teams. But I think they're good.
Yeah.
Maybe the Mavs could come up and do something, but I think their big men are hard to beat. You got two of the best big men in the league, and
Yeah,
Gobert is really good.
I would agree with those points, Will, that Minnesota is built to beat Denver. It's kind of like the Raiders are trying to build their team to beat Mahomes. I don't think it's really working out with these moves they're bringing in. Alexander Madison, that's your big splash move in free agency. But you're trying to beat a specific team. We hear about that all the time, and to me, Minnesota is built like they are the only team that has two bigs that can potentially match up with Jokic if they're healthy. That being said, they don't really have the playoff experience to make a run. I'm big on playoff experience being a criteria for a team to make a run. You kind of pay your dues like my Celtics have been doing here. So
I've been really impressed with one of the bench players too from the Timberwolves, Nas Reed. He was a McDonald's All-American, and I was surprised that he didn't get drafted in 2019. He actually went undrafted, and he actually came out and said that inspired him to play how he plays today. Right? He felt like he realized he wasn't where he needed to be, and all credit to him. He's been balling out for the Timberwolves this season. And a deep rotation too with his spot.
Yeah, really interesting you mentioned Nas Reed. I think he's been kind of an X factor for them. I would agree if we're looking at kind of his stats and what he's done here. And he's 6'9", he shoots threes, he rebounds. These are great numbers. To me, I see him as their starting three, as their starting small forward, which gives them that big front line to go up against Gordon and Denver, Gordon and Porter, who are big like that. And so he's been a big part of their success this year.
I have a question though, right? We talk about the big boys up front, and we talk about the Timberwolves and how elite they've been all season on the defensive side of the floor. But does defense win championships anymore? Right? Like I look at today's NBA and I look at Gobert, who's just an absolute stud, an unbelievable talent. But you look at Jokic's numbers career against Rudy Gobert, 28.2 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game, 9.1 assists per game. Like, you need to get a stop when it matters most. I'm not overlooking that, but you need these guys to score. Like, you need to be able to give Rudy Gobert the ball and get a bucket in game 7 with a minute left, right? Like, do we trust that? Do we trust Towns to do that? Like, I don't.
Yeah. So interesting topic. Let's get some takes on this. So Alvin, what do you feel? Do you feel that defense wins championships still applies as much as ever to the NBA?
I think it depends on. I think in the backcourt that still means something, but not in the front court. The fact that they can't use the leverage in the body and the forearm to keep him from leaning in with the shoulder, knocking you off, so he can get to his spots. Also, it's not total team defense, it's just getting key stops. I believe in the NBA today in the playoffs, if you can get those key stops like the famous LeBron pursuit of the ball and knocks that ball away, that was a huge stop in that series against the Nuggets. As long as you can get those huge stops at huge moments, I think that's what the drama is in the NBA right now. But it's not like the traditional way of you have this defensive team that's holding teams under 100 points in the playoffs.
Yeah, we've seen scoring at a record high. Anyone else want to chime in that? I don't want to steal anyone's thunder before I respond with a take on
I think
Doug's
like with a
defense.
team like the Mavs, they have no defense, right? Like if they had a little bit of defense, I think they could win a lot of games. So maybe I'm way off on that, but I think the Mavs just get outscoring a lot. So if they had a better defense, then they could win more games. So that's kind of an example, I think, where it's like they're all offense and their defense is hurting them. Maybe. I don't know though.
Well,
Yeah,
with the Mavs, I feel like
defense.
their star players don't play defense. And that's what, drags down everyone else. Then it's hard for anyone else to be motivated when your stars aren't playing hard. The game's on a commercial here. It's 26-20. As somebody who plays basketball and plays by playing defense and wins by playing defense, I would absolutely say that defense still wins championships in the NBA. It's an interesting topic, and we don't have to agree on it. But I first of all, I would point to the Celtics, who everyone on that team defends, and they're running away with the league in first place this year. And when we get into the playoffs, everyone starts to play intense defense, and that's how you win championships, because everyone could score. Everyone's good in the NBA and can win and can win. And so you need people that can play defense. You need role players that can defend, but also can hit the open shot these days, in my opinion. PJ Tucker, a guy I always hated, especially when he was on Philly or Milwaukee. Those kind of guys. KC Pope, right? These are guys that can defend but can hit the shot. Boston has a whole team of these guys. That's why they're in first place. A guy like Rudy Gobert is kind of a liability these days because he's not effective offensively. But maybe he can guard Jokic out on the perimeter. But I don't know. I think that's why Utah kind of gave up on him. They were not having him on the court at the end of games. They'd hack a shack him and foul him. So I don't know that you want to have bigs that just are there to block shots. I think that's kind of lost its place in the game, but absolutely defense wins championships. And it was interesting. Ryan had some great stats on the matchup between Gobert and Jokic. Great take with some great stats. I don't think anybody can stop Jokic. I saw that firsthand. The Celtics brought in Porzingis to try to slow him down and did not accomplish that at all in either of their games against him this year. You cannot stop Jokic. And if you double him with your bigs, then Gordon and Porter crash the boards and dunk on you with offensive rebounds. If you double him with the guards, that barely slows Jokic down, and then he can pass so good. So you can't stop Jokic. He's an unstoppable force these days. That's why I'm picking them to repeat. You can, however, beat Jokic by outscoring him. Celtics will need to score 3 every time Jokic scores 2, and just let Jokic go and score and hope that Tatum and Brown and the team can come down and trade 3s for 2s. They're just replaying the flush here. Let's see if we can hop over and get this highlight here. It's still on.
I definitely want a good defensive
There's the
squad
block.
rolling into the playoffs. I just looked up a cool stat. 5 of the top 7 highest offensive rating of all time. 5 of those teams have broke that record this season. And Celtics are actually number 1 with a rating of 123. And I believe when the Mavericks broke that record just a couple years ago, the rating was 108. So the offense is taking a big boom, and I want a good defensive squad to make a run. Some people tend to forget that the Warriors, yeah, they had a very flashy, high-scoring offense, but they won those championships due to having a top 5 defensive rated team in the league that season. And when history says that NBA champions have a top 5 defensive squad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, some
top
good
10.
stats on there.
So top 10 defensive squad wins championships. But I'm glad you point out the Warriors, because the one year that they didn't win it, I mean, you can also say Clay blew out his ACL and KD blew out his Achilles, but they were not a top 10 defense that year.
No, they weren't.
They've had a lot of great defensive teams as part of their championship runs. All right, so we just saw the highlights there of Ant-Man's dunk from last night, and love to get some takes on what you feel is the best in-game dunk of all time. And let's have you put this in the YouTube chat. I'll put the YouTube link over there as well. And what's the most memorable dunk of all time in game that you guys can remember? And then we'll go around and take some takes on this, because they're shooting free throws right now. Jeremiah, go ahead.
Yeah, I already mentioned it earlier, but Vince Carter in the Olympics over the 7-foot tall guy in a game. I mean, to see it in dunk contest is cool, but to see that in a game, that's something I'll never forget for sure.
Yeah, that it is a classic, and because it was in an international game like that. Vince Carter, of course, probably the best dunker of all time. Cam, what's the most memorable dunk that you've ever seen?
Yeah, mine I think was this kind of started the era of Lob City. That DeAndre Jordan, when that alley-oop that he just demoralized Brandon Knight. And everyone's reactions after that is my favorite part of the video, including DeAndre's.
Yeah, and Brandon Knight, who I loved him coming out of college, he kind of never came back in his career from that, it seemed like.
No, that wasn't the first time he got dunked on. It almost became like he was the guy to dunk on in the NBA, and he just happened to, become a part of one of the most infamous clips.
Yeah, let's see what we got. Shaq breaking the backboard. That's a good one. Will put in the chat there. Vince Carter, T-Mac dunked on the Mavs guy. Yeah, T-Mac had one of the most memorable ones for me, was because he was, I think, the first time where he threw it off the backboard and to himself and dunked it back.
Hey David, did you see Jalen Green's poster he just put up like 2 or 3 days ago?
Not 2 or 3 days ago, but I saw the one that he did earlier tonight. That one was nasty.
Yeah, the one he did a few days ago. That's right up there with Ant-Man's contention for dunk of the year.
No, with Jalen Green, they're talking about he broke the dude's ankles and hit the three, kind of like James Harden did 5-6 years ago.
Oh yeah, stared him down. Yeah.
All right, let's check back in on our game here and just see what's happening in the box score and with some of the highlights here. I'm going to put the audio back on for a quick minute here. So far, Minnesota's hanging with them. The Ant-Man seems to be keeping them in this. The end of the first quarter will be coming soon. Love to get takes from you guys on this game.
It's going to go in because it's such a line drive shot. There's not a lot of arc on his three-point shots, but the ones that have gone in have still been in line drive variety.
He's shooting just 11% since joining the Timberwolves in three-point range.
Jokic at the elbow. Brown for three, nailed it. Christian Brown in his second season out of Kansas.
Christian Brown, good looking rookie for Denver. That's the kind of role players you need.
Hit the roll, but tipped in by Garza.
That is the end of the first. Let's see if we can get a replay on this.
Short-handed Minnesota Timberwolves. No Towns, no Gobert, no Naz Reid, and they trail by 7 after 1.
Nice.
Future is threatened by enemies often unpredictable.
Well, I can tell you that the Ant-Man is definitely putting on the show. He's acting like a superstar, like a superstar would, carrying his team, doing everything that he can. He's just going to need some help from the others. He's not getting anything. Garza's trying. The rest of the crew are not giving him anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I have a take from this game.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that a little bit, and then I'll comment on Jokic. But you bring up a good point, because we mentioned, I think I brought it up earlier, with Edwards coming off the back-to-back. The whole world saw that dunk, fractured finger against this championship DNA team, and on a second night of a back-to-back with 8 fingers, because he already had an injured finger before he injured the fractured one from the dunk last night. He comes right out, scorching hot, just doing what he's been doing all year. Like, that's where you start to really make a mark in the NBA. If you want to talk about legacy, obviously it don't matter to the playoffs, but heck of a start if you're going to start doing things like this on, the second night of a back-to-back against the champion Denver Nuggets. And then I'll just add, Jokic, he's on pace to finish with 32 rebounds. So is that good? 8 rebounds, 13 points, no assists, which is unlike him. But give Minnesota credit. They're hanging in there. It's only 1 quarter down, but still a close game with a bunch of guys out.
Yeah. Good take there. Will, what are you seeing in this first quarter?
I mean, to beat the Nuggets, you need to get rebounds, and that's what I'm really seeing. Gordon had like every rebound. He had so many second chance points, Aaron Gordon had a lot of second chance points, and you need like a Russell Westbrook or somebody who could just sneak up and get those rebounds, because they're not getting a lot of second chance points at all, the Timberwolves. So that's the big difference.
Yeah, Gordon with 8 rebounds in the first
And
quarter.
he's got 6 offensive, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, playing 3 6'10" guys across that front line there is just intimidating, most teams have 6'7", 6'8" guys there. Let's check back in on the game audio as the second quarter is underway here.
And ended up going off at that. I was so man, he was backing it up, man. He was unbelievable. 7 moment. What an Ants great dunks game at Golden State too against James Wiseman, their rookie year. That's in the package. 7 on the shot clock. Slow-mo out there with those 3 fouls. Jamal Murray, stop, go, finish. Well done. The scoring for benches, there's definitely a Minnesota fader right now. You got to play your bench or it's got bench points, and Michael Malone's not going full bench yet. This bench doesn't have much of a choice with slow-mo back in there. McDaniels can't hit. It's 3 fouls for Kyle Anderson. Now, these not Jokic minutes are the ones that you got to win if you're Minnesota. I know that, Anthony Edwards is not in the game either for Minnesota, but that's why one of the ideas perhaps would have been maybe sit Ant a little bit earlier in the first as him attack and make it go. Was to sit Ant a little bit earlier and then bring him back against this second unit, Michael, at the beginning of the second quarter to let him cook against this group. Another turnover for the Nuggets.
So Jokic is on the bench now. This is when they got to try to make their move and close that gap. This is when Murray and Gordon tend to to go nuts here. What do you guys think of Kyle Anderson? Does anyone have a take on him? I enjoy watching him. I'm not saying he's particularly good, but I think just he's a unique style of playing in the NBA that sometimes make me think maybe I could have made it to the NBA if I was that tall. What do you think of Kyle Anderson, David?
Kyle Anderson, I haven't watched enough of him to give you a good breakdown of him.
No. Well, you know, he's famous for his slow motion play. I watched a lot of their games back when he was on Memphis. I was really enjoying watching Ja Morant those years. Go ahead, Cam.
I was honestly surprised that the Grizzlies brought him back for another year because last year, rolling into the playoffs, him and Rudy Gobert got in a physical altercation on the bench. And
Mm.
then in the locker room, he like went on Instagram Live and was saying he was yelling, saying it's either me or him, right? It's either me or him. And when I was watching the video at the time, I was like, come on, man. We all know that the Timberwolves are gonna rock with Rudy Gobert and cut you. And they kept him. They kept him on the squad. And you know what? That tells me a lot about him. They were able to squash the beef. And they just want to win. They want to hoop, and that they're competitors. That shows a competitive side too. If when they were beefing too, they were losing, right? They weren't doing what they were supposed to do. So, and you're right. His slow-mo style of play, it's interesting. It's very interesting to watch. It's like how in the hell when he heats up, it is like how can we not stop this guy? If you can see what move is coming, but yeah, he's interesting for sure.
Yeah, a lot of similarities there to Jordan Poole in your hometown Golden State Warriors situation. I saw he's been demoted to the second team now with Washington. What's your thoughts on him, Cam? Is he going to be able to resurrect his career?
Jordan Poole?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think that contract, right, getting paid all that money or maybe fame got to his head. Because and when he heats up too, he's shown moments with the Wizards that he can, but I just don't think he can be that guy for a franchise, that number one where you want to build around. He excelled playing his role on the Warriors, right? Getting points off the bench. I think that's the role he needs to fall into, be a Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford type player. Because those guys were scorers, and let's not get it twisted. Jordan Poole can score. He's got some cool. I like pulling up Jordan Poole highlights and watching his mixtape. Right, he's got a cool bag that he gets into, but I just think that they need to utilize him more as a sixth man and not give him the keys to the Wizards. Because man, the Wizards fans, if you guys are in the YouTube chat, tell me how you're feeling with Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole being your leaders of your team.
Kuzma's out right now, but Poole played like ass tonight. I think he was like 5 of 19 for 13 points. I'm pretty sure I could suit it up and drop 13.
Yeah, and he's just very inconsistent. Like he'll come out and drop 30, then he'll come out and play like complete garbage. Not only garbage is he missing shots, he's turning the ball over. He's making his team worse. That's the whole reason Warriors got rid of him. And you look at the Wizards, it's no reason why they have one of the worst records in the NBA right now.
And he doesn't play defense. That's the other thing.
Yeah, he doesn't play D.
Yeah, it was funny. They were showing March Madness highlights on one of the shows I was watching, and they showed that Jordan Poole shot where he hit one from half court to send Michigan to the Final Four. And I'm like, man, that's right. Like, so he's been famous since that. That shot really kind of put him.
We don't talk about that shot around here.
Guys. Hey, this is your year. I'm with you. I can't wait to get into some picks at halftime. Although I was surprised you weren't really that high on Houston earlier today. And I love getting the hometown insights here. Speaking of which, I would love to hear from Ryan. What's something about Philly that maybe most people don't know? Any behind the scenes scoops you can give us?
As far as what's happening with the Sixers right now, heading into the playoffs, or
anything in Philly sports.
Man, there's a bunch. I I'll stick with the basketball talk with the NBA for a second. I can maybe add a quick Eagles one too, but I mean, you look at the Sixers team right now. Joel Embiid was just breaking a Wilt Chamberlain record every night this year up until he got hurt. And now I feel like a lot of national pundits or just even casual NBA fans are just saying, well, he's going to be back. He's going to be back. If you're watching this guy throughout his entire career, not only has he been dealing with a ton of injuries, guys, but he's had a ton of roster turnover. And something that maybe the average NBA fan might not realize, this is like the fourth straight year. It's the fourth straight year where they've made in-season trades on top of off-season trades. So this dude has yet to play with the same core for more than 30 plus games in his career. So he goes down right before the trade deadline. Daryl Morey makes all these moves, gets rid of their engine in Pat Bev. Love Pat Bev as far as just a playoff locker room guy. Joel Embiid hasn't been there, and now they have to figure it out when he comes back. It's like, forget about it. It's going to be too little too late. So it's just for anyone that says, well, maybe the Sixers, they have too much to overcome. And I think the trade deadline moves is going to be a big part of that.
Ooh, nice flush here. Perfect timing. Let's catch this replay. I couldn't see who it was, but they are about to throw one down here. Looks like the screen is a little bit behind. We'll come back to that in just
Ryan, just curious, when y'all first got Daryl Morey, were y'all excited? Like, is it night and day difference between how you feel about him when you first got him versus now? What was, how was Philly when y'all first got him?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's been, you talk about turmoil. You look at the league having to step in and get rid of Hinkie in the process. They bring in the Colangelos. That was an absolute nightmare. Twitter gate and just all the decisions they made, trading up to draft Fultz. Then they give Elton Brand the keys to the car. He gives Tobias Harris a $185 million max contract, which is absolutely absurd. Trades for Jimmy Butler, gets rid of Jimmy Butler, gives Ben Simmons $150 million. So, like, I talk about roster turnover. Well, it's also because there was front office. So you get Daryl Morey, mixed bag, right, guys? But we're all sort of just crossing our fingers and hoping. But it is yet to be put together. It's just always something with this Sixers team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. And so, yeah, I always felt like Tobias Harris, he was Doc Rivers' guy from back in his Clippers day. And, Doc, like, probably, had something to do with him getting that contract. So, yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I feel like you always have a puncher's chance to win a series when you got Embiid. They could win one series in the playoffs, and then, he'll probably be out of shape or something. Think anybody's really picking them to make a run this year, and that window is closing. I mean, Embiid's not getting any younger. He's in his prime right now. It'd be nice to see him make a deep run in the playoffs. An Embiid Jokic finals would be Wilt versus Russell type. So
it would be epic.
All right, let's check back in on our game here. The Ant-Man has gone to the bench now, so we will see if Minnesota can hold some ground here.
Is their bench like worse than most teams? I know benches don't matter, but I was trying to figure out this Timberwolves bench. Like, it's really bad, isn't it?
Minnesota's bench?
Yeah, compared to other teams, I feel like it's worse. I know benches don't matter a whole lot, but it's like
Well,
bad.
on a night like tonight, it matters. Yeah, I don't know any of these guys on their bench. Maybe
Nigel, I think his name's Nigel Alexander Walker. He's a cousin of SGA, and when he heats up, I mean, he can get 30 in a hurry.
Did he get his genes or no?
I mean, he's in the NBA.
Nigel's a good player. The Pelicans drafted him. They really didn't have a spot for him in their rotation at the time. That's the only reason why he left the Pelicans.
They call it block 15, so block meaning switching.
What makes them like number 2, you guys? Like, I'm trying to get a handle on these Timberwolves. Why are they really the number 2 team in the West, you think?
Well, that's how good the Ant-Man's been playing this year.
I guess.
And Carl Anthony Towns was having a great year. So those are two, probably two of the top 10 players in the league, maybe.
The Timberwolves are going to challenge. Yeah, they're going to challenge the right hands by Nickeil Alexander-Walker as he slapped it out of the hands of.
Let's see what this challenge is.
Murray touched it last. Murray touched it last, and Nikola Jokic just got back after the break as well. Ooh, yeah, it's going to be Minnesota's ball, baby.
Seahawks, Eagles.
So if it's not Minnesota that's going to make it to the Western Conference Finals, who has a take on who else is most likely to be there against Denver? Anyone have a favorite that they like?
I like Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma and Denver, I think they're the two best teams in the West, the two best players in the West. With all due respect to Ant-Man. But SGA, I mean, with Holmgren, that's a dangerous duo with Lou Gwentz Dort and Jade. I forget what his last name is, but I mean that's a solid team, and they're young. A lot of people say that it reminds them of the 2012 Thunder. I don't think they have that kind of star power, but I do think SGA is, after Joker, second best player in the West. And then especially with the Timberwolves, with us not knowing the status of Cat, I think Cam was saying, they need reps. Someone was saying they need reps. I think that's huge. Especially 7-game series, your life is on the line. I wouldn't trust the Timberwolves in that situation.
Yeah, interesting take on OKC. It does kind of remind us of that, thinking back on the early Durant Westbrook days. 2012, if that was the finals year, if you guys remember the year before that, OKC played the Lakers. And man, was that a fun series. I think the Lakers won it pretty easily. But I mean, Westbrook was, you could tell like these guys are young and fast, and Kobe's not keeping up with them. And they still won that series, but you could see they were a team that was going to make a run the next year. That's what I expect we'll see out of OKC this year. Young, speed, athleticism. But I think they'll be lucky to win a series. Playoff experience is one of the big factors that I look for in teams that can make a run in the playoffs. You kind of pay your dues over time, earning your way in, like the way Boston has been doing.
I like that take on.
Go ahead, Cameron.
I was gonna say I like that take on OKC, David. I agree. I mean, he pointed out SGA, right, and Chet Holmgren, but two other players that stand out on that team for me is Josh Giddey. He is one of the NBA's best passers. And another guy that every NBA team loves to have is a Jalen Williams. He's a two-way guard. He's averaging 20 points for them this year, which is going under the radar, I think. He flies off the tape for me. Jalen Williams is an excellent player to this squad. And, yeah, I think they make some noise. I think they go to the Western Conference Finals as well.
Giddey's their weak link, though. He can't really shoot the ball. Every time the Rockets have played him, it's like let him shoot. But Greg was mentioning, paying their dues. Dort's been in the playoffs. He actually had a game 7. I think he dropped 40 on the Rockets in game 7 in the bubble year. But then they've been in the play-in last year. I think SGA, I don't remember for a fact, but I believe SGA was on those Clippers teams one of those Clippers teams that made the playoffs. So it's not, completely a situation that they have to pay their dues. They are young, but I think they can make it to the conference finals.
OKC was in the playoffs game last year, playing game?
The play-in.
I don't even remember that. That's how unmemorable it was for me.
I like the Kings a lot. Like, I think they have they have everything they need. And I actually really like them at the start of this season. They're going to make the playoffs. They've underperformed a little bit, but I mean, they have one of the best passing big men. And then Fox is one of the fastest guys I've seen. He's a blast to watch. And then Malik Monk, I don't know much about Keegan Murray, but Malik Monk and Fox are two of the best guards, I think. So I like them to make a run.
Yeah, the Kings have a great roster on paper. Why they've been underachieving this year, I don't know if they've had some injuries. Last year they were the 3 seed and got knocked out in the first round. This year they're the 6 seed.
It's
Let,
close,
let's
man. I'm
but
surprised.
let's if the Thunder, if we're saying the Thunder are going to make the conference finals,
No.
let's just look at who that means they'd have to beat. So first they'd have to beat the Suns with KD and Booker. I don't think that's a given at all, right? And then they would have to beat, let's say, Clippers are the favorite there, right? I mean, Pelicans are a lot of people's sleepers, but so that's two pretty tough series before they even get to Denver. That I think will basically be coin flip series.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Greg, because honestly, I don't think that the Thunder will make it to the Western Conference Finals this year. I think the Western Conference Finals opponent for the Nuggets is either going to be the Clippers or the Pelicans. And the reason why I have 1A and 1B are very close, I would say 1A plus and 1A. The Pelicans honestly have split with OKC this year. The first time they played OKC, the Pelicans, with strength for strength, mollywopped OKC, even with SGA in the game. The second time they played them, Zion was hurt and he was not there for that game. So OKC was able to split with them within that game. Like you said, it's a tough sled for them. They might get past Phoenix in that first round, but if they have to see the Clippers or the Pelicans and the way that the Clippers are coming strong and playing well and the experience that they have, I'm not quite sure that their talent will be good enough to beat the experience of the Clippers. And if I go talent for talent with the Pelicans, the young Pelicans and the young OKC, that's a 50-50. And I would lean with the Pelicans if it comes down to a 7-game series.
Ooh, I'd sure like to see that. See the Pelicans beat the Clippers and then have a 7-game series against OKC. That would be some fun playoff basketball. I love watching Zion. He's another player that's just fun to watch because he's different out there. Those are the kind of guys I really like. I don't know how probable that is. If the Clippers are healthy, which is always an if with those guys, they always seem to have somebody who's out. But if they're healthy, they have so much experience. I think they've got to be the favorites to make the Western Conference Finals.
Is it usually this wide open? It feels wide open this year. Maybe I feel like there's always one or two teams that are probably projected, and that's the case for the East, I think. But the West is wide open. I'm looking now. I feel like there's a good amount of teams that could win.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas is the 7th seed, and they were just in the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. Durant and Booker, you can't count them out. So 1 to 8, it's pretty tough. I feel, it's interesting. The East to me is and the game's just shooting a free throw now, so we'll hop over here. The East to me is the same 1 to 8. It's just as tough, equal. It's just a state of the league right now, in my opinion. The Heat, nobody wants to play the Heat in the playoffs, right? They've been to the finals last year. The Halliburton and the Pacers have been hot. If Embiid comes back, you don't want to play him. But for my Celtics, honestly, if I'm looking at this board, the team I'd most like to play in the first round is the Magic. And it looks like we might get lucky and get them in the second round. That'd be great. I mean, I'm not scared of anybody. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's game, by the way, Celtics Bucks. We're going to be on at 7:30 p.m. For that game tomorrow. Let's check back in on our game and get ready. At halftime, we're going to talk March Madness picks. We did our first round picks last night. Tonight, we'll be focusing on who we're picking through to the Sweet 16. So if you want to be ready for that, we're going to do that at halftime.
And then this year has been fantastic too. So LeBron should have won 5 in a row, by the way. Think about the 2 he won in Cleveland, and then
Are y'all worried about
11.
Tyrese Halliburton going cold? He's like 10 games in a row. He's made like 1 3. Does that not worry you? Because I know you said that the Pacers might be someone to be worried about.
Every
Yeah, I
shooter
mean
goes.
I haven't followed him that closely. I didn't know he was doing that bad. We had him on a couple games where he struggled, but then he kind of pulled it together in the fourth quarter. They're going to go as ever he can take them.
Yeah, he shot just 17% in the month of March, or shooting 17% in the month of March. But I was gonna say that every shooter goes through their shooting slump. I mean, Clay goes through it multiple times through a season. Even Steph goes through it. The stars, right? So I think Halliburton's just going through one of his worst slumps right now, and he'll get out of it.
I had a question for Alvin because you said the Clippers and the Pelicans, and I do think the Pelicans can be a dark horse. However, I do have reservations when your star players are Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and then James Harden in the playoffs. He needs the whistle. He doesn't get the whistle in the playoffs. What is it about the Clippers that makes you think that that they're a contender? Like I said, I just don't trust the health in the playoffs, and Russell Westbrook's just a crash dummy.
Because for the first time, I actually see that Harden is making the real sacrifices and playing the role that needs to be played on this team to make it successful in the run for the playoffs. In years past, he would be trying to get stuff, the stats, trying to get his, and he's not doing that. He's playing the point guard like he's supposed to. And as he's fallen in, Westbrook, I don't know if it was Westbrook that rubbed off on him when he accepted his role with the Clippers, but I actually see Harden really playing the position that they need him to play on the Clippers to make them successful. I know that they ran up on my Pelicans a few nights ago and ran into that buzzsaw, but they've been playing well since then. But honestly, my gut tells me if the Pelicans can stay healthy and get the matchups with Jaden Daniel coming back with they're long in the backcourt, they're long up front. I really feel like they can at least make the Western Conference Finals this year. They have everything they need to make the Western Conference Finals as long as they stay healthy.
So Alvin was picking the Pelicans for the Western Conference Finals. I was picking the Clippers, and that's strictly for me based on Kawhi. He's the best closer. He has championship experience. Those are the two things that I value the most in terms of, who I pick to make a run in the playoffs. So I think our game has gone to halftime now. Let's just look at the box score, and then we're going to go through our March Madness picks. It is 70-55 right now. Denver's pretty easily covering. Seems like a lot of points for the first half. If anybody took the over on this, that is looking really good. Not a lot of defense out there. Joker already with a double-double. Ant-Man with 16 points. Anything else standing out from that first half?
I just think the secondary and the Nuggets, Porter and Gordon, I mean, they're so deep, Those two guys could be number 1 or number 2 on most teams, I think. They're really good players. Aaron Gordon and Porter, they play, the team's just built really well, I think. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep them together.
Yeah, I mean, they're out to defend their title, and I think if Jokic wins, he's now in the conversation for one of the best big men of all time with back-to-back titles. Well, let's save that conversation for another day. Let's hop into college basketball. We've already had some March Madness today. If you watch that first playing game, it came right down to the buzzer. There's a game on right now. I've been checking the score on my phone. It is Colorado leading Virginia. I didn't think Virginia deserved to get in. Last night we did our first round picks. Tonight I want to get takes on second round picks here. And we're going to just assume that things go chalk. And by chalk, I mean who Vegas is picking, because a lot of these lower seeds are actually favored in some of these games. So we're going to dial in and start here. with Houston, Texas A&M. Does anyone want to? Is anyone picking Texas A&M? Does anyone want to give us a take on why Texas A&M can win this game?
They lost by 3 points. I said that last night. They're scary. They lost by 3 points to Houston earlier this season, and they get rebounds. So that's a scary matchup for Houston because they're going to get a lot of rebounds, and that's what Houston does really well too. So I think
Yeah,
it's a good matchup.
so Texas A&M played them close this year already, and they made it to the semifinals of the SEC, knocking off Kentucky. So there's definitely a case for them, but I think most everyone is picking.
So Will, you're talking about the final score. The game really wasn't that close. The final score says otherwise, but the game was determined pretty early.
Do you think they play similar games though? We don't have to get into it for a long time, but they're
Texas
similar.
A&M in Houston?
Yeah. Do you feel
I
like
would
they're
say the
similar?
team most similar to Houston, they're clones of each other, is Iowa State. I mean, if y'all watch the games, they're just two defensive powerhouses. But neither one of them can play offense.
Yeah, I know David is from Houston and has talked about the Cougars, offensive, as a Achilles heel in this tournament. All right, let's look next. Let's try to see where our best matchups are going to be. So Duke, Wisconsin. It seemed like most everyone's been picking Wisconsin. Does anyone want to make the case for Duke to win this game? Not a lot of Duke fans here.
I mean, they're led by, I like Jared McCain. He's been one of the best freshmen this season, and you can't really count Duke out with if you look at the roster, I mean, they got one of the more talented rosters year in, year out in college basketball with all the recruits they always get. So these kids, I just want to see if they can play with the chip on their shoulder, right, and make a little run.
And don't forget they've got McFlipsky, something like that. The kid's like 7'1". He's a bad dude. I'm actually taking Duke in this one. I've actually got Duke knocking off Houston.
Wow. Okay. What makes you think that Duke can beat Houston?
Size. Houston already struggles on the boards. Juwan Roberts, our number one center. He's dealing with a shin bruise. We lost our backup center. We're very aggressive, so we'll probably foul early, foul often, just be in foul trouble throughout the game. Yeah, especially with a big team that can play basketball. If they play even a little bit of defense, we lose our minds.
Wow, that's really interesting. I mean, we haven't seen them lose their minds much at all this year, other than that Iowa State championship game. And I feel like people are, if I heard Jay Williams, the analyst on ESPN, like really say that's the reason he's not picking Houston, and I don't think that's fair. One game you get down, you just kind of give up. You're playing for next week. I don't.
But it's not just the one game though. They should have lost to Texas earlier in the year, and they should have lost to Oklahoma. Their defense won them those games, but their offense is atrocious.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean their offense has been good enough to win in the Big 12 for most of the year, but it's
I went on record yesterday. I think the Big 12 is overrated.
Yeah, no, and I love hearing that. I love hearing insights from a guy who's been watching the Big 12 all year. So all right, let's continue here with our games. We're picking Kentucky against Texas Tech. Let's see. Anyone want to make
Can you
the
go
case?
back to sharing your screen? Is
Yeah.
that possible?
Yes. Anyone want to make the case for Texas Tech here? Jeremiah,
Absolutely not.
Jeremiah, what do you think about Kentucky? How far do you think they can make a run, and why?
I really like them to at least the Elite Eight. Might be a little bit of the fan of me talking, but I don't see us being beaten until the Elite Eight minimum. I disagree with David. I think Houston's a better team than he's giving them credit for. It'll be an offensive defensive game if Kentucky and Houston were to match up, because we can't play defense and apparently they can't play offense. So should be a fun game if nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I watched Houston twice this year, both times against Ohio State. They won the first one. We watched it on this show. The guard, Sheed, right, put up 20-something points. He looked like, he was having his way. He's one of the top defensive players in the year. It's interesting to hear David say that they're not good at rebounding. Like, that's the most important part of what defense does is if you don't get the rebound, you just play defense for no good.
So Jawan Roberts is phenomenal at rebounding. He'll eat up on the boards, but he's hurt right now. That's what I was saying. He's dealing with a shin bruise. He didn't play. He got hurt in like the second or third game, and he didn't play the second half against Iowa State.
Oh, that's really interesting. So is he supposed to be out for the tournament?
No, so he played the first part of the game, and I think they're just resting him just because they didn't want to risk it. I imagine he'll play in the tournament, but we'll see. If he doesn't play, forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're missing any of their big guys, so they're going to need them. Maybe they can rest them, like you said, the first game if they need to buy them a few extra days. All right, let's pull the bracket back up here and see where we left off going through this. So Florida has a bad injury, right, to their center over the weekend. I think they're very susceptible. They could lose this game. Just for the sake of this, we're going to assume Marquette goes through. So Jeremiah has given us the take for Kentucky through to this final 8, right, which would be beating Marquette. Does anyone have a take on Marquette? I know we don't have Alex, our Wisconsin guy here tonight. Is everyone picking Kentucky in that? Yeah. I think we're all fans of Kentucky, which scares me a little.
Yeah, they haven't let us down before, have they?
Only every year.
Yeah. That's a fact.
So we'll see. But yeah, Reed Shepherd, has been very impressive, and he's coming off the bench for that team. I watched the game. Kentucky won at Tennessee. That really impressed me last weekend. But that's kind of all I'm going on there. All right, let's work through this bracket here. Illinois, I think we all agree will handle BYU. Anyone want to make a case for Washington State here? Otherwise, these two are going to carry through. And it's interesting. I feel like UConn is getting this rep that their bracket is so brutal. But the reality is Illinois and Iowa State have to play each other. It's not like UConn has to go through both those teams. So I think that's a little bit misstated there. I do think Auburn is hot, and I'm a big FAU fan. I'm picking FAU. We won't do that for this, but I'm picking FAU to knock off UConn. They have everyone back from last year. Obviously, they're a Florida team, so it'll be fun for me to root for them. But this Auburn game, I know Will was high on San Diego State.
So here's my take, man. I don't even know if I have the facts for it. I think the winner of that game is going to beat UConn. I know it's a crazy take. I think both those teams are really good. And I think Auburn definitely can. They've got a forward they've got a lot of players who can score, and they have a lot of bench players, which I think is important in some ways because you're going to get tired during the second weekend and stuff. So I would not be shocked if Auburn beats UConn.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Auburn's led by a 6'10" big guy. And he'll be able to neutralize that 7-footer that UConn has. I think Auburn has a 50-50 chance against UConn. And that's part of the reason that I'm picking UConn to lose here is I feel like if they don't lose here, they're going to lose here. So why not pick them out here and see if I can gain some points on everyone else? Could backfire on me. By the way, I want to make sure everyone has filled out our bracket. If not, shoot me a text and I'll send it to you. I think I sent it to all you guys, but make sure you filled out. We have our own bracket on ESPN. Our sponsors have donated some prizes just to make it a little extra fun. Of course, it's free to play, and it'll be fun for us all to have it all documented and tracked and see who actually wins here. The other thing we're planning to do is on Monday. So this weekend will be the games, right? And then it'll be down to 16. On Monday, we're going to redo our tournament picks. By Monday, we'll have watched all these teams. We'll really know to be able to talk to them, and we'll do a tournament pool for the Sweet 16, the remaining part out. So that'll be really fun to do. After watching the teams all weekend, we'll know a lot more about them. We'll see who's hot, who's injured, who's playing well, who's already out. So that'll be fun. Just to go over the schedule again, tomorrow night, we're covering the Celtics game at 7:30. We'll also be talking March Madness. Then Thursday and Friday night, we'll be on March Madness for a watch party, and we'll be drafting fantasy football teams those night as well, kind of simultaneously. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll start at 9 p.m. on Thursday and Friday. All right, so Illinois, Ohio State here. Does anyone want to make the case for Illinois? Yeah, we don't have our Big Ten guy here. I think most everyone is picking this matchup through to here, except for Will and I. All right, so let's move down to the bottom bracket here. North Carolina, I've been surprised how many people have been picking North Carolina to get upset. I feel like, North Carolina's shot went cold against NC State, and now people are saying, oh, they could go cold at any time. They live and die by the three. But I don't think Michigan State really has enough firepower. They have not had a very good record to be able to beat NC. If anybody has a take on that, let me know. I love St. Mary's. Anybody have a take on who could win this game? Jeremiah, you've seen Alabama a few times this year. You think they can beat St. Mary's?
No, I actually like St. Mary's there. St. Mary's, I've seen just a couple times in the West Coast Conference tournament, I believe, and they look like a tough team to beat. Alabama, they're hit or miss. I'm going to pick them miss on this game and go with St. Mary's.
Yeah, me too. I watched them beat Gonzaga in the championship game and was really impressed. All right, coming down here, we've got Baylor. Let's go to our Big 12 expert, David. What's your take on Baylor? Do you see them getting through to the Sweet 16 and having a chance against Arizona?
So a lot of people are picking New Mexico. They've got really good Ken Palm rankings. They're top 20. Baylor hasn't really impressed me this year. So I've only seen Baylor play against Houston. So I can't say Baylor against anyone else. But based off of what the expert, you watch ESPN, it seems like New Mexico is the hot pick to go to the Elite Eight. So and they won their tournament. They, like I said, top 20 in their Ken Palm rankings. I'm going with an upset in my bracket. I like upsets, so that's what I'm going with. This isn't the Baylor of 2021 where they can run you up and down the court, run you out of the gym. So we'll see. But like I said, Baylor hasn't really impressed me in the games that I saw.
Yeah. Anyone else have a take on this? So I watched Baylor in the conference tournament. I watched them play Cincinnati and almost lose, and was not impressed at all. They really had trouble scoring the ball in the first half. They did turn it on and win that game pretty handily by the end, but Cincinnati's not good either. They had just beat Kansas, and I wanted to see what's up with this Cincinnati team. So I watched that game, and then I watched Baylor lose to Iowa State. They're just not as good as them. So I'm right there. I haven't seen anything from Baylor. They're a team that's, got knocked off early last year. And if you start to, buy into David's premise that the Big 12 is actually down, Kansas is injured, they're down, Baylor's not that good. And you got, two tough defensive teams, but not really two great teams at the top, then, your whole Big 12 picks might start to fall apart. Definitely, I'm going to put in one of my brackets, one of my 25, where I kind of have all the Big 12 going down early, just based on what I've learned from talking to David. But I like New Mexico a lot too. I was really impressed with them beating San Diego State, and I think they can beat Baylor. And Arizona also has, let me down in last year and the year before. So I'm not really trusting them to go very far.
Can someone give me a view on them? I don't know much.
I
I
think
did Caleb Love. That's all I know.
I think that Baylor and St. Mary, or not St. Mary's, Baylor New Mexico game will be a shootout. Those are two of the top offenses in the country. So I expect that one to be a pretty high scoring game.
Baylor, New Mexico. Yeah, good insight there to take the over there. Yeah, Arizona's led by Caleb Love, right, who transferred out of North Carolina. He's kind of a shoot first point guard, and has been, I think he's the Pac-10 Conference Player of the Year. He hit a lot of clutch shots when North Carolina made their run 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And
Oh, interesting. They have a lot
usually
of
we
guys-
look for teams with a guard. Historically, the last 2 or 3 years, Arizona's been led by their bigs. Last year, they had two really big guys that got drafted and got knocked out early. This year, they're more led by guards, so that might bode well better for them. Their coaching, is something I don't trust anymore. Their coach is he was the number one assistant under Gonzaga for up until he took the Arizona job 2 years ago. This is his third season. And
Tommy Lloyd.
yeah, Tommy Lloyd. And a lot of people were saying, "Oh, he's the real genius behind Gonzaga all these years." And he's been a total disappointment coaching in March Madness his first 2 seasons. So I feel like there's a lot of question marks around
They're
him.
That's crazy. Their top four players are all seniors.
Mm.
That's really interesting.
Well, they're transfer portal guys. It's not
Yeah.
like they
Yeah,
like
that's a good point.
every he brings in new guys every year. It's not like, it's a difference between a 4-year senior and a transfer portal senior, but it still is a senior.
I think Arizona gets a bad rap. I'm not going to hold last year against them. That was bad. Yes, there's no doubt about that. But the first year that Tommy Lloyd was there, I mean, he lost to Houston, who a lot of people that was a year that I thought they should have won the national championship. So I wouldn't hold that against them losing in the Sweet 16. But this year will definitely be a big thing. And another thing you got to remember is they lost their best player to the draft in Benny Mathurin. He went to Indiana, and Arizona's going to be in the tournament every year. So we'll see this year. I think they're at minimum an Elite 8 team.
Well, the year they lost to Houston, they were the top 2 team in the country that year. So that was a big upset that Houston beat them that year. A big failure by their coaching.
Yeah, they were one of the, like you said, top 2, but it wasn't like they lost to, like last year when they lost to Princeton, that was bad. So, losing to once Houston won, everybody's like, okay, Houston's gonna win it all. And then Villanova ran Houston and Villanova, but no, I wouldn't hold that against them. Yeah, last year was bad, but we'll see what he does year 3.
They've got a really easy path to the Elite Eight in my mind. That's what I'm just seeing right now. I don't think that's a hard path at all.
Well, yeah, especially if New Mexico knocks off Baylor, then they don't really have to play, anybody that's ranked along the way here, right? They would play Long Beach, they'd play Dayton or Nevada. Those are not Power 5 conference, so they haven't had to play a Power 5 conference yet, all the way here to the Final 8, and then look what we get. This would be made for TV. If you think the fix is in, then you should pick this, because this is Caleb Love going back against RJ Davis. And if you remember the story we heard on this show when one of the Carolina fans came on, they were dating the same girl. That's why last year's North Carolina team tanked and didn't even make the tournament. They couldn't get along at all. They were dating a girl on the women's team. And Caleb Love transferred and left North Carolina. For them to square off again like this, wow. I'm definitely rooting for that to happen. That would be a dramatic moment.
I have a hard time not seeing it, man. Like these are the 2 best teams in that bracket, hands down, in my mind.
It's like what everybody wants, But it's like, to me, this is like everybody wanted Brady on Tampa versus New England in the Super Bowl that year too, and it just wasn't happening. New England wasn't going there. but I mean, Arizona's it would be the 1 and the 2. It'd be chalk. So it's very possible. All right, let's go down this end here. I think most everyone except for me is picking Purdue. I'm taking TCU. I don't trust Purdue. Their lead guard, sounds like he might be injured too. That's another reason for me to question them. Has anyone heard anything on Kansas? They're like the two. They have their 2 starters.
Yeah, McCullers is ruled out for the tournament.
McCullers is definitely out. Okay.
I don't know if Dickinson's been ruled out for the tournament, but McCullers is definitely ruled out.
Yeah, so McCullers is the guard who was he was the starting guard on the championship team. So 3 years in a row he's been a starter. That's a big loss as the guard. And then Dickinson is their leading scorer and rebounder. He's their big man that transferred in from Michigan. If he's out too, they might not make it out of the first round. It's interesting.
And the other thing is, even if they were to play, they played, typically they play like 2 games a week. They've only played 1 game each of these last 2 weeks, so they'd be coming in really rusty.
Yeah, because they got knocked out really early in the Big 12 comp. They had a bye through half that week and then got knocked out. So they've only played basically once and lost that game to Cincinnati, who's like not in any of these tournaments. They didn't even make the NIT. So that's another really good point to pick against Kansas. It's so crazy, this matchup, because this is the least impressive Gonzaga team I've seen since I can remember Gonzaga. I was ready to pick Gonzaga to lose in the first round, and still might, but these matchups, it's like Gonzaga's getting a cakewalk to here, and then that's setting up Purdue to get a cakewalk all the way through, right? I mean, that doesn't leave Purdue with anything to play unless things go absolutely crazy in that bracket. Going down here to Oregon, Creighton. I know Cam gave us some great takes on Oregon last night. The main thing I heard from Cam was that their star center, Dante, didn't play the first 2/3 of the season. That's why their record was so bad. You want to kind of recap that? And what do you think they can beat Creighton? Have you seen Creighton this year, Cam?
Yeah, it's not that we started off bad. We actually had a good start to the season. We started off 11-3. We just skidded towards the end, and he got hurt early too. And it was surprising that we won those games early, but we ended up losing a lot of our transfer players. It is just, to me, it's a big win in itself that Oregon is even in the tournament. It is awesome. We dumped off Arizona and Colorado to get where we are right now. And you know what's funny? That's not the first time this has happened with the Dana Altman Ducks team. I just think they gear up for March. Their defense, they're locked in on defense right now. And I think Dante might be one of these breakout. Not a lot of college basketball players, or not college basketball players, my bad. College basketball fans know about this big dude. And I think he's going to light it up in round 1, shut people down, shut down star players. He is a menace on defense, and he cleans up everyone's garbage around the rim.
Yeah, and offensively, he didn't miss a shot. And I think they said that was his second time. I don't know if it was his second time against that team or 2 games in a row, but he had gone like over a 2-game span. He had made like 20 for 20 field goals because he gets all dunks and putbacks.
And another breakout player I have, or not even breakout, they've been playing awesome all season, but Jackson Shellstad is Peyton Pritchard 2.0. Right, his mid-range game is deadly, and the reason they put Arizona, or actually got up to a big lead against Arizona in the Pac-12 tournament, was because Jackson Shellstad was heating up. He was hitting threes from Curry land, and if he's doing that, the Ducks are going to be a tough out.
Yeah, has anybody got a take on Creighton? I think you've sold us on Oregon.
It's hard to argue against that. This is the closest I have to a 2 seed losing here, man. I'm telling you.
Texas?
Look, and every tournament has these double-digit teams making a good deep run in the tournament. I think Oregon, right, is one of those double-digit teams that can be a bracket buster. It happens every year.
Whoops, I'm trying to click on this to
Someone's guy need to pick Texas, man.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I
what do you
definitely
like
like them more
about
than
what do you like
Texas.
about Texas, Will?
They have a guy, like that guy from Oral Roberts, Max, what's his last name? What's his last name? Something, Max Agums. And then it comes down to too, if you think the Big 12 is good. I mean, they had a really good Big 12 season too. And when you have a guy with that talent that has been there in March, it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
what I'm gonna
Texas,
say.
I don't remember them being ranked at all year long. Like I was kind of surprised that they were in March Madness. I just feel like they had a quiet year. They were I picked them to win it all last year. I felt like they should have won it all last year.
Mhm.
And that that was a big letdown for them and for me. So I think that's why I've kind of shied away from picking them
So
again.
Abrams.
I
Abrams.
don't trust Rick Barnes. Rick Barnes scares me, but I think playing against Texas, he's gonna want that one a lot more than any other tournament game.
Yeah, that's his
Having
old
coached there
team.
for yeah.
Yeah, so Barnes going back to Tennessee. They definitely like plan these things out, like hey, if we can get Barnes going back to Tennessee, that'll be a great game there. So all right, so we got kind of what we're leaning towards for our picks here. Tomorrow night we will make our final round picks. Let's check back in on our game. And then also I want to keep an eye on this play-in game. The play-in games have been pretty exciting. And one of the main reasons I want to watch this game tonight is I think the Gators are very susceptible due to their injury. And they play the winner of this Colorado State Virginia game.
They play the winner of Colorado Boise.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Texas plays the winner of this game.
Texas plays okay. So I think the winner of this game might have a chance against Texas. Is anybody seeing Colorado State this year? They're in that Mountain West, right? With the 6 teams in.
I've heard they've got one of the best players. I don't even know his name, but he was like supposed to be, I think it's something Scott. Maybe they have one guy, maybe it's them or Colorado.
Let's pull
Uh,
that game up and just
Yeah, Colorado has a kid that's going to be drafted like top 10 in the draft.
Okay. Not Colorado State, Colorado.
Well, maybe Colorado State. I haven't followed them either, but I know like Evans or something like that from Colorado.
Let's
Where are they?
Williams. It's Williams, and they both have NBA prospects on their squad. Williams is supposed to be a top 5, actually, out of Colorado, the freshman. And yeah, Colorado State. I actually have them winning that play-in game and getting who do they play in the first round? I have
It would
them
be
getting
Texas.
Texas.
I don't know if
I have them
Virginia can-
upset in Texas.
Virginia
Colorado,
might not be
They're
able
up
to score
13 on Virginia right now.
they're good.
Yeah.
They're a good
I
club.
don't know if they can score 30 points in the whole game. That's going to be a struggle for Virginia.
I'm trying to look up who else. I think this guy Stevens is their leading scorer from what I remember reading. Let's see, he's not having a great game tonight, but
Who does Colorado play? Uh,
they play is that the game against Boise? Is that the other playing game?
Yeah.
that's crazy. Both Colorado teams got to play in. Wow.
Yeah, reason why Colorado is in the playing game is because they didn't win the Pac-12 championship, and to me, I think that Colorado has been ranked in a good team all year. They've beat Arizona. They went toe to toe with Washington State. They are one of the top teams representing the Pac-12. So Colorado, whoever they play in the first round too, consider them getting an upset victory.
Florida. I've got Colorado beating Florida in my bracket.
Yep. Because like you mentioned earlier, they got that prospect Williams. I don't think I think he wants to help his draft status, right? Maybe try to get top 4, top 3, get a deep run with this Colorado team because I can't name you anyone else on that squad.
He's number 3 in most categories, which is interesting. Guy named KJ Simpson's number 1 in like everything. And he is the junior. Williams is only averaging like 10 points, it looks like.
That makes sense because like last year, for the Cougs, we had a freshman, Jarris Walker. All year he was like the highest rated freshman in the league or whatever. He was drafted like number 5 or 6 to Indiana, and he wasn't even the leading ball handler. He
Really?
played great defense, but no, it was Marcus Sasser and Jamal Shead who the team ran through.
That's really weird.
Hey, so Minnesota's making a run here. Let's check back in on our game. They had it down to 4 a second ago, and then Porter just hit a 3 to open it back up a little bit. There's always a run.
Question. I'm legitimate because the entire night we were talking about the championships in Denver, and like I think Denver's the team to beat in the West. I like the Celtics to win it all, but does anybody have a better starting 5 than the Nuggets? Like honestly, they've got the Joker, they've got Murray, they've got KCP as their 5th option. They've got Michael Porter Jr. And then they've got
Gordon.
Crazy.
Who?
Gordon.
Oh yeah, Aaron Gordon. Yeah.
Gordon, yeah.
Yeah, they've got Aaron Gordon. Like who has a better starting 5? Like the only team I can think of that has a starting 5 comparable to that would be the Clippers, but even then they're really aged out, and it's really more of their starting 4, like the 4 of their 5. I wouldn't consider Zubac to be all world, but who has a better starting 5 in the NBA?
You don't
Boston
think the
Celtics.
Yeah, the Celtics.
I think it's the Celtics.
The Celtics are
Derek,
the conversation.
Yeah.
Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and that Porzingis, those 4, right? That's a nice core 4 to have.
But I'm saying 5.
Who's the weak link in Boston? I'll think Boston's starting 5. To me, KCP is just a defender. He's not good.
The 5th
KCP,
guy's Holiday.
he would not start for Boston. Pope would not start for Boston at all. So if we're just saying 5 for 5, like to me, he's the weakest of those 10 players.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's your 5th option. That's what I'm saying. You got
but you're saying I thought you were making the case Denver starting 5 was better than Boston.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. No, but what I'm saying is, he is the 5th of the 5. He is the 5th option.
Yeah. So they really have 4 awesome players, similar to the Clippers in Denver, plus Pope, and then whereas Boston to me has 5 awesome players. Granted, Jokic's at a whole nother level than any of these guys, though. Andy has a championship experience. I will, I remember on one of the shows I went through who Denver beat to win the championship last year, and it wasn't that impressive. A lot of teams got knocked off, and so it wasn't like they were battling, Giannis and Embiid the way, the Celtics have been
battled LeBron and AD, and they swept them.
Yeah, I mean that LeBron team barely makes the playoffs every year. He got hot for a series or 2. So
I mean, they can only play who's in front of them. You can't knock them for that.
Yeah.
Or else we'd be going in on Brady playing against the AFC East for 30 years.
Very true. But that's the regular season. That's not the playoffs. He beat Peyton Manning. He went up against one of the all-time greats for most of his career. But I think, in what you were sharing, David, there's another, I think, interesting insight is that we tend to think of the NBA as a star-driven league, but the 2 best teams, the teams that are the clear favorites to be in the championship, are the teams with the best starting 5. So,
and the best defense.
What's that?
I said, and the best defense. The Celtics, that starting lineup for the Celtics has been the best defensive lineup in the NBA all season, from start to finish. I know I mentioned the Warriors' latest lineup standing out in defense, but the whole season, it's been the Celtics. And I think you're right. Holiday and Porzingis, they have to stay healthy. They have to stay healthy for the Celtics to make a run. No, the whole starting 5 has to stay healthy. Other than that, the Celtics bench, only one I like is Pritchard. Other than that, I think the Celtics could really pop anyone on the bench. You could even call up any of the free agents and sign them up and replace all of them, that team is still going to make a deep run. But yeah, but to David's point though, Nuggets have a very good starting five. I think they have the second best starting five in the league. It's hard to count out that Celtics squad though.
Minnesota's taking the lead here, 84-82. The Ant-Man putting him on his back with 30 points, and we're not even done with the third yet. My pick was Denver to cover and Ant-Man to go over, and he just drained another three.
Jokic still without an assist.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Man, that's odd.
Maybe they're not doubling it all, which is, I think, smart.
Headlock, yeah.
Yeah, let's check back in on the audio with this and just see what's happening with this run that Minnesota's on here. Let's see. I think I had the audio switched over to the college game. Find the channel here.
Luka Garza is playing defense against the Joker. Just stripped one and Ant-Man drained a three.
Luka Garza, man, that was a great college player.
He crushed me. I do it. Yeah.
You picked him that year? Yeah, I think we
Well,
all.
I don't do a bracket. I actually do you pick one team and you can't pick them again each round.
Oh,
That
okay.
is so much fun.
Just picking one team?
Yeah, and then if you lose, you're out. If they win, you keep going.
Is it
But
like
you
a
can't-
draft where you
But you can't pick them again.
everyone can only pick one team, or you can only pick one
No,
team?
you can only pick one team. And I'm in it with like 600 people, and we've never made it to the finals.
Wow,
It's harder
everyone
than you
always
think.
loses, huh?
You either lose or you lose your teams because they're all still in it. So they have it for the NFL. I forget what it's called. NFL when you pick one team each week and
Yeah,
It's
like
like
an
the
elimination
elimination.
pool.
It's
Survival
the-
League.
You can only choose the
Survival
Bucks
League.
this week. You only choose the Pats the next week. Yeah.
so yeah, you can only pick one team a day. And I'm struggling, you guys. I do not know who to pick for Thursday, but we don't have to talk about that now.
Kentucky.
But they're gonna make it to the finals, or at least the Elite Eight. I don't want to go that early with them.
Nice power in here by Jokic.
Straight on. No. Oh, that would have been big. They've had some opportunities here to knock down some open shots. Jokic attacking Garza. And they got it.
They're just playing great defense on Joker right now.
Battling. And that's what MVPs do. They stem the tide. Edwards lost it. KCP, one of the league leaders in steals, hits the three. Big sequence for the Nuggets.
Yeah, look at this lineup Minnesota has out there.
87.
TJ Warren, Luka Garza,
Wolves have exerted a lot of
is that
energy to get back in
Morris,
the
Marquise Morris, and McLaughlin.
Oh, J-Mac was
If
looking.
someone wants to help me on YouTube, I would appreciate it. Because I'm looking.
Nuggets a chance to put a stamp
KCP.
quarter. One that's been dominated by the Wolves. They've got to sit Jokic down at some point.
Who says I'm just a defender? He heard us talking about him.
Jokic stripped. McLaughlin.
He's very PJ Tucker-esque. He's a bigger PJ Tucker.
Yeah, more of a guard version of PJ Tucker, and had already won a ring with the Lakers, so I think he was a really critical piece, just the perfect addition for them to bring in to round out their starting five. Doesn't need to shoot the ball, but can knock down those threes.
They are all over the Joker. That's the difference in the first half in this third quarter. It'll be interesting to see if they can continue that because they are not giving him any room.
Keeping an eye on that. Virginia's just getting blown out.
Hey, Jeremiah, how many Funkos do you have? You're muted.
Yeah, a couple hundred, man. It's gotten crazy. It started as one or two here and there, and people bring them to me all the time. I got a great group of friends. Huh.
Nice. What is it that you're asking? Will give you a team to take, Creighton, Illinois, or Kansas?
Yeah, which of those teams do you think is gonna win but won't make it far? Because that's what you're looking for.
Win but not make it far. I think Kansas loses in the first round. I
Okay, so
like
definitely not
Illinois
Kansas.
to make it to the Elite Eight, so I think that would leave Creighton because they could be potentially eliminated in the round of 32.
There's like thousands of dollars on this, you guys, and I want to be the first one to make it to the finals. It's
So you
tough.
have Iowa State upset over Illinois, David?
Yeah. So Iowa State they play great defense. They're the number two defensive team in the country, but their offense is they're just a tier below at Houston. Everything they do. So good offense, a little bit. I'm sorry, good defense, but not quite number one. Bad offense, but a little bit worse than Houston. And Illinois has one of the best defenses. I think they have the third or fourth, or not defense. I'm sorry, offenses, third or fourth ranked offense. And Iowa State's had a few games where they've given up 80 plus points. So I can see Illinois running them out of the gym.
Hmm. See, I don't think the Big Ten's that good. I think that Purdue has won a lot of big non-conference games this year. And so Purdue is a great regular season team. And then the Big Ten teams are able to knock off Purdue. And so it kind of gives them quality wins over Purdue. But the rest of the Big Ten's non-conference wins, I haven't been that impressed with any of them. I don't think Wisconsin can beat Duke. Michigan State's been a disappointment, and Illinois is their best team. I think after seeing what Iowa State did to Houston, like I'm going to take Iowa State over Illinois. I think Illinois can make it that far. Illinois is another team that has not done well in the tournament. If you remember, they had team with that mask guy a couple years ago, right? They were a number one seed and went down in the second round. That wasn't that long ago.
See, Greg, what you said though, I think that's what a lot of people are doing with their brackets because you're taking the Iowa State game against Houston, but a lot of what happened with Houston is they're dealing with injuries, and like I said, they just really have a bad offense. They're like 216th in like field goal percentage, and they were just jacking up shots, missing easy shots when they had them. I think Iowa State has a great defense. Don't get me wrong, but I don't. A lot of it was just boneheaded decisions by Houston.
Well,
I
Houston
think
swept them in the regular season, right?
do what?
They swept them. Houston swept them in the regular season.
No. Houston gave us I'm sorry. Iowa State gave Houston their first loss, and it was not a close game.
Okay, the one we watched, Houston won.
At home, Houston was undefeated. But yeah, they lost at Iowa. Their record says they're one of the best teams, but the road games got really shaky. Lost at Iowa State, at TCU, at Kansas. We should have lost at Texas and at Oklahoma. So they really worry me.
Yeah, you're
Right.
making me reconsider because I was looking at it more as a macro level, like they're just a team that's been knocking on the door for 4 years now. Seems like they're ready to break through and win one, but I haven't actually, seen a lot of them.
Yeah, the thing with the last few years is we had somebody on the offense that we could say, here's the ball, go get a basket. But, Marcus Sasser left, Dejan Giroux left, Tremont Mark left, Jarris Walker left. Rob, we don't have our Rob Gray, we don't have our Corey Davis, so we don't have that person. LJ Cryer can make baskets, Jamal Shed can make baskets, but it's we're also really undersized. I think I'm taller than Jamal Shed. I mean, you look at the screen, you're like, oh man, that guy's like 5 feet tall. So that's another thing that really scares me with the teams that with a lot of height.
Really, Shed? I mean, Shed is like He was lighting up Iowa State in that game we watched, and then he's Defensive Player of the Year. People are talking him up as, which usually goes to a big. So that's interesting to hear, that he's small. Yeah, you're gonna have me reconsidering some of my Houston picks. So, and here's the thing for me, like I don't want to pick UConn to repeat. I feel like it's very hard to repeat, and there's going to be too many people picking that. I don't want to pick Purdue because I feel like they get knocked out. Dave's just talked me out of Houston. It's like, what do I have left now? Am I going to go North Carolina, Tennessee? Like, there's not a lot of teams left this year. It could be a really wide open year, but that usually doesn't happen either.
Well,
Usually,
last year I don't think there was. I think they were all 4 seeds, right? I don't even know if there was a 2 or 3 seed that made it.
Yeah, last year
no,
was
no.
like the worst seeded,
Yeah.
the lowest seeded Final Four ever.
Well, I mean, UConn was a top 10 team. Weren't they
They
a
were
three?
still like a 3 or 4 seed though.
Yeah, I think
I
they were.
think I'm sold on Auburn. The more I look at Auburn, the more I actually think they might be good. Like Auburn
Remember,
has a lot
we
of
watched them. You were on that night. We watched them like lose it against Tennessee down the stretch. Granted,
The
that was at
SEC is weird
Tennessee.
because there's been a lot of blowouts in that conference. Maybe that's normal for conferences, but these top teams blew out other top teams by like 20, 30 points pretty often.
Well,
Mhm.
home court is so big in the SEC,
Yeah.
really in all of college basketball. It's such a big deal.
But to win the SEC like they did, I mean, they blew Florida out by 20. They beat South Carolina by 20, Georgia by 20, and then Mississippi State by like 10. So they finished the season really well.
Well, but they dodged Kentucky and Tennessee. Those are the other big dogs
That's
in
true.
there.
Yeah.
They all got knocked off, and then the Gators were hot. Like I was ready to pick them to the Final Four. They were slaying people in the tournament, and then their center got hurt. And that's why they get lost all their momentum against Auburn. They could see like the air went out of the balloon when that guy went down. Um,
I
I
might be
keep
the
going
dude
back and
who
forth with UNC and UConn. Right now, I've got UConn winning it all, but at the beginning of the year, I really thought that UNC would be, have like the whole team of destiny thing. I know there's no like actual like logic behind it, but the way I try to make sense of it is okay. The seniors that are coming, you've got like your Baycots. They're coming back. This is their last chance. They should have, they had a double-digit lead in the championship game a few years back. They should have won. Kansas was just unstoppable in the second half. So the way I try to rationalize it is okay. Hubert Davis, he wants to bring that ring to North Carolina. So that's how I try to rationalize it. But then I see UConn. I just see their advanced stats. I just see that the games they lost, people like chalk up as flukes. So it's hard to go up against that, and they just have so much momentum coming into this.
The
Like I
odds of
said,
them
right now I've
repeat,
got UConn, but I'm
the
going
interesting
back
thing,
and forth.
the few teams that have repeated were like the Gators team. That's really the only one I can think of, right? And they were teams where everybody came back. This UConn team, everybody did not come back. There's only like 3 guys back. They lost 3 starters to the NBA. It's a whole new team. So this would be like the first time ever that a team has repeated, but it's like not really the same guys coming back. And there's been a lot of teams that make it back to the Final Four that look like they were going to repeat and they don't. So I just don't think history is on the side of UConn.
I just don't think they got the bracket either, man. They have
Yeah, and they gave
like
them a gauntlet of a
they
bracket,
did.
starting with FAU. I mean,
Yeah.
FAU, a Final 14 from last year. So then they have Auburn, and then they'll have Illinois or Iowa State. And then
Maybe
North
I'll take
Carolina,
UConn.
right? Or whoever comes out of that South. Like that's a gauntlet of
Yeah, I think if they get past Auburn, I think Auburn's better than Iowa State, Illinois. I think Auburn, they didn't win their bracket, they didn't win their championship. But I think if they can make it past Auburn, that's a top 10 defense, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. If they can get past them, I think they make it to the Final Four. But I think that's going to be the toughest game in the bracket for them.
Yeah. And another thing I've noticed over the years is the team that knocks off the ones, it doesn't usually continue to make their run all the way to the Final Four. It's like they knock off the big seed and they're just like so into that. They're out by their next game. Like they kind of just got hot in that one game. That's what, March Madness is. So yeah, I mean, that leaves me with UNC, Tennessee, maybe Kentucky, that we have to start seriously considering. UNC in that game they won at Duke, they really impressed me. And they're an interesting team too, because they have the two guys, right? Baycott was the player of the year in the ACC 2 years ago as a sophomore. He was the ACC player of the year. And him and Davis were the only two guys left from that team. But it's not like they came back to win. Like those guys are borderline non-NBA players. So they came back because they had to come back. and now Davis and is like lighting it up. And Baycott, like he isn't what he was 2 years ago anymore. He's like skinnier now, and he's not the guy he was before, but they have a lot of other good players. I mean, North Carolina always gets a lot of top recruits. But
Hey, Will, you said you're a South Carolina guy, right?
Yeah, I'm planning, by the way, I'm taking a high seed. I'm taking BYU Thursday, unless you guys have a huge no to that. I think BYU has a great chance of winning.
Hey, it's March Madness. Just throw a dart and see what it lands on.
Yeah, I would say, to me, BYU is one of the most susceptible teams for an upset.
But they're playing Dukes. Whoever that I don't even know who they're playing.
Duquesne from Pittsburgh, yeah.
Like, they're not going to win, are they?
Anybody can win at this point. Do you have to pick someone to win Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
every
the
day.
different teams?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what makes it so hard.
Well, wouldn't you take a 1 versus a 16?
No, because then you can't pick the 1 again, and they're probably going to make the finals.
Nah, see, I don't think the 1s are going to make the finals.
That's a good point.
I don't either.
Whoa,
yeah, I would say choose Purdue, but after the last 2 years losing to double-digit seeds, that's probably not how you want to start.
So I'm thinking, I mean, there's only a few teams you can really take, because a lot of these games.
And so basically, you can't even pick the champ until the end. You have to pick the champ at the end, your last game.
Nobody makes it there. Not many people make it to the champ. It's more fun than doing a bracket, hands down, in my mind. In my mind, it's way more fun than doing a bracket.
So theoretically, you could win by day 4. Does that make sense? But
we have 600 people in it, so
it's last man standing wins the pot, right?
Yep.
You should imagine if it rolled over every year if nobody wins it.
No, so last year was actually the first year that somebody made it to the finals, and both of their teams were already picked. So
they couldn't. So they had to choose San Diego.
No, they
State
just won.
End?
They just won.
Oh, okay.
Because
let's
do so you could theoretically win by day 3 or 4.
No, but
Absolutely.
with 500 people, you're gonna make it to like the Elite 8.
Well, when do you have to put in your day 3 picks before the
right
tournament
before
starts?
5 minutes before the game?
Oh, so you can wait to see who wins and then
Well, kind of. Like I have to.
You don't have to pick your final 4 now. You can wait.
No, I pick one team each day.
Yeah. Got it. So you got to save who you think's going to the final 4. You got to save those teams till the end.
Exactly. And I want to go with Creighton, but I think Creighton can make a run.
I don't know.
That's what makes it hard.
Cam sold us on Oregon.
I'm curious. You said you're a South Carolina guy, so have you watched South Carolina basketball?
I like South Carolina because I bet on them a lot, and they were always like huge underdogs, and they always won. I just think they've been underrated all year.
What do you think about them? And this is interesting because I know Cam's an Oregon guy. What do you think about their matchup with Oregon?
I said last night it's the most entertaining first round matchup, hands down. Like, no question in my mind. I think both the teams are very underseeded.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great game too.
That might be the game we have to watch. When is it?
Yeah, we'll have to look at the TV schedule for these
Well,
games.
speaking of games we have to watch, if for some reason my team gets upset Thursday night, I'll be sick and not be on.
So who are we on, you guys? Or we could talk about it tomorrow night, maybe.
Minnesota's up 4 right now.
Maybe you guys could give me a team tomorrow night that you feel confident is gonna win. And isn't like a 1 seed.
Is not
MPJ
one
with
of
a
your-
3.
What'd you say?
Oh no, I was saying Michael Porter Jr. knocked down a 3 is 92-93.
Yeah, we got just under 6 minutes in our game here. Let's watch in on this game, and then if anybody wants to help Will with a pick, we'll each try to come up with one for him for his pool here.
This Friday's easy. Friday's got a lot of good games to pick.
But Thursday doesn't, huh?
Mm-mm.
That's interesting.
Near the midway mark of his fourth
I like that
quarter.
Luka's not backing down off of the Joker.
Edwards
And
splits it
Yammer.
inside, open
Nuggets
off.
just took the lead.
Foul.
Oh, you're ahead of me.
Porter, top of the key is good. A different player. He's been a killer. Yes, he has. A 7-0 Michael Porter Jr. run has given the Nuggets a 3-point lead with 5:40 remaining.
Yeah. Like Michael Porter Jr. as your number 3 option.
Good range.
That's nasty.
Minnesota and had a chance to just reverse it because they just stuck it on the glass. Threw it out to Luka Garza. Luka missed the open shot. So you have to give Minnesota a lot of credit. Man, they have been battling here in a short-handed situation, in a back-to-back situation. All the things are stacked against taking on the world champions. That's a great point. Not only short-handed, but in a back-to-back. It's great to see those during the game. Jokic, you mentioned Michael, just got his first assist. And it's been a productive night for him. And most of it's happened in the first half. 26 in the game right now, and they live at 19.
Well, what I would do is I would choose somebody that you feel really good about in the first round that you don't feel good about in the second round.
Yeah, that's harder. That's easier said than done, though. That's the way you should do it, David. You're right.
I like Creighton. Just looking through, that's a team I think will win Thursday and won't go real far.
Yeah,
Not
I would
Final
say
Four
after round 1, I would never be picking Creighton again. I'm not picking them.
Okay, so that's a good.
I was thinking either Creighton or BYU. So I think you guys convinced me on Creighton.
I don't like BYU at all, but let's see what else is on there for Thursday night.
You could also potentially choose New Mexico. That's a hot upset that a lot of people are choosing.
Yeah, they give you like $200 if you pick the highest seed, but that's too risky.
They're favored though. They're favored. Even though they're the lower seed, they're favored in Vegas. So it's pretty good odds to how do you get $200?
Just by picking the highest seed.
By picking an upset?
Yeah.
Oh, it has to be the highest out of 600 people though.
Uh-huh.
Somebody might do something crazier than that too.
I have a screen to show you what people picked the last few years, just so you guys could get an idea.
You're selling me on wanting to play in this tournament.
It's like
Same.
I could show you guys what it kind of looked like a few years ago. If you're
Harry
interested.
Henderson said we're hating on Creighton. Sorry, Carrie.
Because the thing is, like, you still can have in the Elite Eight, the hope is you could have at least 1 or 2 options,
Yeah, we need to we'll have the Creighton people come on tomorrow maybe and give us the inside take there. Because Cam gave us a great take on Oregon, who's that's who they would play in the next round. And right.
Yeah.
And to me, Creighton, they got knocked out early in the Big East tournament. That's all I really know about. They had a good run last year. I think they made the Final Eight or Sweet 16.
Not as many as I thought. We actually only have 3 people so far. Last year, one person made it. 2 people made it to the Final Four, but both their national championship teams were taken, so they lost. But with 230 people, that's still pretty surprising.
What do you mean they lost? But if they made it, wouldn't they still win in the end? Because
They didn't have a team to pick.
but what didn't they go the furthest?
Yeah, so they split the pot.
Oh, so they split the pot. They just didn't have
And the
enough.
teams people pick are all over the place. Like a lot of people do actually pick 1 seeds in the first round.
Who do you
But
like on Friday?
Friday was Auburn. I thought was a pretty solid lock. Baylor, I don't think Baylor's gonna lose. Auburn and Baylor, I think, are both pretty solid locks.
Yeah, and Auburn, the only time you might pick Auburn again, I mean, if you think they're going to go far, then you might want that one.
I think Baylor would be a good pick because a lot of people are picking them in the first round and then to lose in the second round.
Yep.
So that may be a safe pick right there.
Yeah, Friday's a lot easier.
I like Duke on Friday. I
Yeah.
don't see any way they lose to Vermont, but then I think it's 50-50 they could lose to Wisconsin.
Yeah, I don't see it's the way things are set sometimes too. Like Friday has a lot better options, I think, than Thursday did.
Yeah,
But I think I'm going with Creighton.
with Creighton
That's who I had to start. That's my pick. Just start.
Thursday. Yeah.
If you guys want in, let me know.
Yeah, drop it in the YouTube chat, or if you don't want everyone, you can just put it in the Zoom chat.
No, I'll put it in the YouTube chat.
I'll play. How much is it? Did you say $10?
I think it's $20.
$20, yeah.
Yeah. It's because like it's more, I don't know. It's different than a bracket for sure.
The thing is, I think though, everyone's probably going to pick Creighton, right? Like everyone's picking the same teams.
Yeah, most people don't get knocked out in the first round.
Yeah, although last year was crazy. Like I'm sure people picked.
Last year, let's see.
Last
People
year you had Arizona and Purdue knocked out in the first round.
Virginia and Purdue knocked out like half the group.
But
Purdue
then again,
knocked
though,
out-
most people save the ones and twos. They want to save them for later. They're probably not picking ones and twos on the
Sometimes
first
it's hard. Who did I get knocked out with?
day.
I usually make it to like the second weekend. Let's see who I lost at. Virginia was a big one last year because they were a 4 seed. I lost at okay. A ton of people. Who did Missouri play? There were over like 60 people who took Missouri last year. They must have played like a 15 seed.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, whoever beat Princeton. I bet they played Princeton because Princeton beat
Princeton was Arizona.
Yeah, and then I bet they played Missouri in the second round.
Well, that's why everyone took Missouri
Yep.
in the second round, and then Princeton beat them too.
Yeah. So I took Missouri. Uh-huh. That one crushed me.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought a team like Princeton? No NIL money there, no scholarships even. Just a bunch of kids.
I
Smart
just
kids.
posted it. It should work. If it doesn't work, tell me and I'll find another way tomorrow. But
All right,
you
let's
haven't,
dial in for our game here. We're at the last 2 minutes on this. Hopefully we get a buzzer beater. It looks like Denver's pulling away a little bit though. They're up 8.
The Joker, baby.
Oh, it may not. I'm not seeing the link. I think maybe sometimes YouTube doesn't let you put links.
Okay, let me do it on here.
That's it. I always wonder if people can see the Zoom link. Can you guys? I'm gonna put it in here. Let's do a test and see if you guys can.
Yeah, I think it works for you because you're like the host, but I know when I posted links and stuff in there, it won't show up.
Oh, okay.
We all kept trying to add that one guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was weird. He like hacked our Zoom. He was like drawing on the screen. I'm like, how the heck did he even do that? These kids, though, they know how to do everything from their having Zoom and for classrooms and stuff. He was like making boobs flash on the screen.
He was like,
Yeah, and he messaged me on Instagram. He's like, "Let me back in."
Yeah, Instagram.
Yeah. Well, I have my Instagram in my YouTube so that in case anyone does want a message. And all right, so here's this thing. Let's pull it up and look at it here. Um,
man, that Kyrie floater the other day, whew, that was nasty.
oh yeah,
That
Showing
was
the highlight
insane.
of it.
that was. I had a few. I talk a lot of shit about Kyrie, so I had quite a few texts on that day from people. Let's see where this. So this is it, Will, right? This is so what is this?
Yeah,
It shows you everyone's picks.
it should. No, from maybe from last year. So go to
How do you what do you click on to
historical
register?
results.
Create an account. Is this how you register? I'll just go ahead.
Yeah. And then you can go to historical results and you can see where I messed up every year.
It shows you everyone's picks every year.
Yeah, from last year.
Huh.
Yep. But I
Pretty-
once the game starts, you can see what everyone picked.
Wonder if somebody like made this site or if they do this on something.
No, they made it.
That's pretty cool.
It is because my friend had to like literally get like 500. Like I thought we had a lot more, but he had to get like 200 text messages a day, and like keeping track of all of it on like a Google spreadsheet. It's
What
no fun.
to make it? Did your friend made it?
Yeah, we used to not have this kind of website, so he used to have to like keep it by a Google spreadsheet.
Interesting.
Maybe we can make a team one.
I don't know why it's not
Are
there.
they trying to say that it's a kickball? What are they trying to say? I don't have the audio on.
Yes, we must have at least.
I'll finish this later. Let me get back into our game here. Let's put the audio back on.
We'll shoot 2 free throws for the penalty. They got it right.
I'm shooting free throws.
Strawberries would be initiating all of that exchange. Well, Nuggets coaching staff was hoping they've been some great hands there. You know, why not? Try to keep Mike Conley off the free throw line. Yeah, you keep Mike off the line and you go down and score, and it's, you know, to wrap, really. I mean,
With Nerfing ODT, I can treat a migraine when it strikes after that migraine is online.
Conley hitting the first. Struggle last couple of outings. Conley from the point
So
range.
Cameron,
Score 8.
if you're the Timberwolves, let's say he knocks down both these free throws, they go down, they stop the Nuggets. Who do you put the ball? Do you put the ball in Ant-Man's hands? Do you put it in Conley's hands? What's your game plan if you're the T-Wolves right here?
Yeah, I'm giving it to Ant-Man, I think he's the one that sells tickets right there for the Timberwolves. He's the most exciting player. He makes things happen. He's a highlight anytime he can drive into the paint. I think we were talking about faces of the league, in the future. He's one to consider, right? He's one to consider. I love his style of play. I love his confidence too. You want someone confident at the end of the game to have the ball in their hands. This dude shines in confidence. He thinks he's the best, not in just basketball. He thinks he's the best at rapping, football, skating, skiing. He thinks he's the best at everything he does, and I love that confidence in the player. So he believes that he's going to make the game-winning shot. And even if he misses, you best believe he's going to come out and try again. So I love the confidence that's just spilling off this kid. And yeah, I give it to him. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would want Conley to be squaring up in the corner, right? Let the Ant-Man drive. If they double, then kick it to Conley for a three. I'd be just as comfortable with Conley taking the shot, but I'd want the ball in the Ant-Man's hands. See, that's pretty much what it looks like they're doing here. They got an open three in the corner, sure enough. Got
And
a
just
3-point
for
game.
some reason, say Anthony Edwards isn't the star of this team, but we're watching just this game, right? You got to give it to the leading scorer, right? The dude who's been on fire and finding his spots for the game.
Does
You know?
McDaniels get a lot of points like he is right now?
No, he doesn't
Daniels
even.
got 20. He's looked good.
Yeah, he just hit another three.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's shooting pretty good.
He doesn't even get minutes like this usually.
Alexander Walker kind of disappointed me this game a little bit. I told you guys to keep an eye on him, and he put up a whopping 4 points.
Yeah, he couldn't get going. I mean, it's a tough D to get going against.
I think that's it. They
4
got
point
the
game.
offensive rebound. Oh my gosh.
There's always a chance in the NBA with that advancing the ball rule.
But you can't let them get the offensive rebound, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Bad.
KCP with the hustle play. Yeah, that's the game right there, that offensive rebound. Slow-mo figures. He's slow-mo to get the rebound. Oh, wait, can they he came in early, I think. Can they review that, or they only review fouls? The guy from the top of the key looks like he comes in early. Well, they're not even going to review, they're just giving him the ball.
The Timberwolves played really good. I thought they stepped up their defense that second half. You know, Nuggets were starting to roll them the first half, it looked like.
I just can't believe Jokic had 34 points. He just gets so he just is everywhere, isn't he?
And
It's like his average.
My favorite
know,
part
it's
about that
crazy.
is he doesn't care. He does not care
know.
about the numbers and MVP talks. He's one of the more humble superstars there is out there. He could care less about individual awards.
Mm-hmm.
He missed
to
the
ride
free
his
throw
horse.
here. He missed a free throw to keep him alive.
Is he just like an unstoppable guy in fantasy? I've never played fantasy basketball, but that dude's got to staff the stat sheet.
Oh yeah. Plus, like centers is like it's
I know.
really hard to draft centers. Like
Yeah.
they don't usually fill out the Conley with a three. Got us a 2-point game. They're not going to cover. Wow. Well, a quick foul and a missed free throw, and then they can hit a three to tie it.
To Cam's point, the defense has been excellent in Minnesota this second half, holding them to 41 so far.
Yeah, you're right on.
Michael Malone calls timeout. Minnesota fighting to the final hole.
He's got about 5 more minutes, probably. Knowing how these 11 seconds are going to go.
The Warriors and Lakers had an 18-minute delay on just looking at one replay, and then I guess the shot clock was having some technical difficulties.
Cam, do you think the Rockets catch either the Lakers or the Warriors? We're on like an 8-game win streak right now.
I do. I think the Rockets will catch up, and and I think that's a good season for the Rockets. If they can get a play-in game, I mean, no one's expecting them to make some noise, but that's a good thing to build up their young core, especially after losing your guys' star player, Sengun. Is that how you pronounce it? Sengun, yeah. Him. I like that guy. He balled up on Wemby the other day, and I'm a big Wemby fan. But I like the Rockets young core. in a couple years. I like what you guys are building with Smith. I like Jalen Green. He's from the Fresno area, so it's actually pretty cool. He built a basketball court in Fresno, and it was like $1 million court. He just built it at the place he grew up playing at one of the parks, and he used like the cool that soft like padding stuff or whatever for basketball courts instead of actual asphalt that just wreck your shoes and your knees. But yeah, shout out to him for building a pretty cool basketball court in the Fresno community. What do you think about Jalen Green? Are you sold on him, or do you think they should have used that draft pick on somebody else?
So over the last couple weeks, he's been on fire. He dropped 43 tonight against the Wizards, which I think they said was his career high or tied for his career high. So, right now he's doing awesome, but I mean, we'll see. He's 21, 22, so we still got a lot of time to grow, especially with Ime Udoka. But yeah, I know we're done playing the Lakers, but we play the Warriors one more time. We're only like 3 games back of them, so I'm
Yeah, so
hoping
Cam, who do you think Houston knocks out? Golden State or LA?
LA. Golden State. Let's not forget, Golden State just found a new stud in Trace Jackson Davis. And you know what's crazy? I was doing a little research on this dude. He was runner-up Naismith Player of the Year last year, and he fell all. How did the Indiana Pacers not draft that guy? I thought him falling to the Pacers was set in stone. Instead, he tweeted out saying that the Pacers are going to regret it. Kerr's been upping his minutes, and he's been looking like the steal of the draft so far, not Pajemski.
You said he like tied for the best college basketball player?
He was the runner-up Naismith last year. Played for Indiana.
I don't really know much about him, surprisingly. He
And
must have been.
Well,
he hasn't qualified.
The Pacers had didn't they have Benedict Mathurin fall to them this year?
Yeah, they got him with the first pick, but they had like 3 or 4 picks, and they ended up trading their last one away to the Warriors instead of.
This is Mathurin's second year. They drafted Jarris Walker with their first pick.
Okay.
Like number 6.
The cool thing about Jackson Davis, though, is he hasn't qualified for enough games. But if you look at it, he's the league leader in field goal percentage at around 70%.
Let's dial in on this ending here because they just cut it to 113 to 112. We're gonna get the replay on
This
screen.
is what, if you're betting on the Nuggets here, man, this is what makes freaking betting on sports stressful.
Hey,
I don't know how
go
your
tonight.
stream's always so much faster than mine. They're still coming out of the timeout on my screen.
Boom! There it is.
It goes with my betting thing. Remember
Who
when
hit that?
the star player, when the best players aren't playing, take them.
Hand the keys over to Luka Garza. Is he the answer to guarding Jokic?
It was
Probably
Jaden
not.
It was McDaniels hit the 3.
Yeah, McDaniel's playing big. Like I said at the top of the cast, you need the that next man up mantra. One of these role players to step up and play big.
So now they're down 3 with 4 seconds to go. They got no
already,
timeouts left, though. It's bad clock management.
we already know what happens. ESPN's updated, I guess.
They got to go the distance. He's got an open
Carey
3.
said you need to stop smoking.
Oh! Just like we wanted, the ball in the Ant-Man's hand. Let's watch the replay of this because it's pretty good finish. He gets a great look at it. Here it comes. Man, it takes them a while to inbound the ball. Let's see what they're saying in the chat. All right, here we go. Ant-Man bringing it up. His defender falls down. He gets a wide open
my
three.
God.
Oh, and he misses it.
Oh,
Looking like Howard.
well, shouldn't have given it to Ant-Man. I was wrong. I'm just playing, guys. Although he missed, you still want him taking that shot. He'll take it again the next game. He will.
Yeah. Awesome game, guys. All right, we're back on 7:30 p.m. tomorrow night. Look forward to seeing you guys then. It's going to be Celtics versus Milwaukee Bucks, Eastern Conference Finals showdown. And
All right, fellas.
Will, I don't think everyone can see that